What's up, guys? Ntcertified here, and today is Thursday, so you know what that means. It's Tune In Thursday. Now, today I have some Sega items. Now, before I begin, I just want to say that as a kid, I didn't have a Sega system. I didn't have a Sega system until after the Dreamcast was taken off the shelves. That's how much I missed out on Sega games back in the day. I mean, I had an older cousin. He had a Genesis, he had a Saturn, he had a Dreamcast, he had all of the Sega games, but I always had Nintendo. I've been a Nintendo kid since forever, and now that I collect retro games, I get to go back and I get to see all of these really good games from these Sega consoles, and man, like, I missed out. So let's get into some Sega Genesis pickups, shall we? Alright, before we begin, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Become a part of the Certified Club. We do multiple videos a week. We do wrestling. We do video games. We do video game streams. We do toy collections. And we do everything else in between. Become a part of the movement. Now, I scored a huge lot of classic Sega games. Probably about 40 or so games in total. But I'm going to break those down into much smaller increments, of course. So I'm going to show you 6 Genesis games today. And we're going to start with a classic. I feel it's a classic. This is Golden Axe. Now, I have never played the original Golden Axe. Maybe, if this was a part of like 6-pack or something like that, maybe. But I mainly remember part 2 or part 3 of Golden Axe, but you know, I do remember the Golden Axe franchise, but this was like set in the like medieval times. So you had warriors, of course. You had like the Amazon and the like warlock, I believe what he was. And as a kid, I always thought that the purpose of this game was to find the Golden Axe, but I don't believe that's the case. I think the purpose of this game was to save the king and the princess. Or according to the back of this package, that's what we're supposed to do. But I always did enjoy Golden Axe as a game. I did play it with friends. Just another reason why I love retro gaming is because you could play it with your friends and you just had fun. Like, you didn't go online, you didn't have to argue with other people. You would argue with your friends, and arguing with your friends is a lot easier because you know they're going to be there the next day. But Golden Axe is a really fun game. I would recommend it. It's not hard to find. It's fairly cheap. So if you plan on collecting for the Sega, this is an easy game to find. The next title that I have for the Genesis is Shakan. So this is like he's like the Forever Man or something like that. So the premise of this game, and this is a very, very tough platformer to play. So the premise of this game is Shakan defeats death, okay? And for him defeating death, he lives for eternity. But the devil tells him that he has to walk around the earth for eternity until he gets rid of all the evil from everywhere. So here he is trying to banish all evil, you know, from all realms, and that's the premise of this game. So you play with like 4 different elements. You have earth, you have water, you have fire, and I believe air is the 4th one. So you get to play with one of those 4 elements in every level that you play, and then you can level it up and it becomes stronger. And then every level that you go on to, you can change that element in between stages. But and you have infinite lives, so you can continue to lose however many times you want because he is the forever guy, and you just go back to the beginning of the level. But it is exceptionally hard to play. I stuck this bad boy in and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is gonna take some time to beat. So I plan to get into this a little bit more. And I'm noticing that most of these games came out when I was like 5 years old. Like, there was no way that I was gonna be into these games. But I was in the Wheel of Fortune on the NES though, so. Next game that I have is called Dark Castle. Now, from what I know about this game is that this was a PC game before it was a Genesis game, and I believe it was ported to the Genesis years after it came to Mac or PC. This is also a platformer, though nowhere is near as hard as Shakan. This was actually not bad to play. Now, this reminded me of like Home Alone in a way, because I had Home Alone on the NES, or maybe I had it on the SNES, and I remember like climbing up the ladders and everything and walking through the house, and this is kind of what this game reminded me of. I didn't have a lot of fun playing this one. I mean, I didn't feel like it was overly hard like Shakan, so I didn't feel like overly challenged, but at the same time, I just didn't feel like it was that great of a game. But it is a game in my collection, and this is Dark Castle. The next game that I have is called King of the Monsters. Okay, now this one is pretty darn unique. So you choose a monster, okay, and there's these levels where you have to kill these other monsters. But the kick to this game is that not only is it a fighting game, it's a wrestling game. So you have to pin the other monster 1, 2, 3. And this is something that I have never seen, I have never heard of. This is pretty freaking amazing, but too bad the game itself is pretty darn bad. I mean, really. You go from stage to stage and you fight, you know, these battles, but the gameplay is just not up to par for a game that could have potential like this, which is probably why I didn't hear much of it. But as typical with the Genesis, it has really nice cover art. Gotta give it that, right? Okay, the next game that we have, and this one's pretty special to me because I used to watch this in the mornings, on Saturday mornings for cartoons. This is The Adventures of Mighty Max. This game put a smile on my face when I saw that this was on the list of the games that were coming in this box. I used to watch Mighty Max on Saturday mornings, and I had all of the, you know, little Mighty Max pocket toys and all that stuff. So this really brought back memories. And I actually watched a couple episodes of Mighty Max not too long ago, maybe a couple months ago, and I saw Felix and B and all of them, and the Magic Cap. It was just, this is just perfect. So this is a licensed platformer, which Genesis was known for, you know, back in the day, was licensed platformers, and this one was no different. But you could play two-player co-op on this game, which made it a whole lot of fun to play with your friends. And that's why I just love retro gaming, is that, you know, you had to get together with friends and play. Like, there was no way that nobody had any friends back then in the 90s, because in order to play these games with two players, you had to have friends. And this is, I mean, it's not the best game, but it is a licensed platformer. So you're playing with your favorite character, and as a kid, like, who really cares how bad the game is? You got to play with your favorite characters. So I think it's a decent game. I think the goal of this is to try to find pieces of this big weapon. But all in all, very, very happy to have this in my collection. And the final game for this week's Genesis pickups, this is Galaxy Force 2. Now, any type of on-the-rail shooter I'm gonna be a huge fan of, because games like this are really, really good, and a lot of them hold up even by today's standards. They're just really decent games, and you really can't go wrong with an on-the-rail shooter, especially a retro on-the-rail shooter. So this is Galaxy Force, and the basic premise of this game is to fly to different planets and shoot everything, pretty much. It's a typical, you know, shoot 'em up or shmup or whatever you want to call it, but this one kind of stands out a little bit from a lot of the others, and it wasn't a lot different from Galaxy Force 2 and Galaxy Force 1, other than a few improvements. But that's fine. That's fine. I'm fine having the better of the two. And this is a really fun game. I did play this and I had a lot of fun, and I plan on trying to possibly finish this game. And I don't finish many retro games today, but I'm gonna take a whack at this one and we're gonna see how good I do. And that's my final game for this week's Genesis pickups. I have a boatload more Genesis games, some Sega CD, some Sega Saturn. I got a lot to show you guys in the next month and a half or so. So I'm really excited. I told you guys I was gonna have something cool, and I told a few people that I was gonna have some Sega stuff, and I'm not here to disappoint. Gets better, gets a lot better. I'm super excited. So thanks for watching. In conclusion, this is Ntcertified. Please like, please comment, and as always, subscribe to the channel, become a part of the Certified Club. Follow me on social media, guys. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Feel free to donate to the channel. I have my Patreon page that I set up a few weeks ago. Feel free to check that out. And in conclusion, that's all I have for you today. So I plan on streaming tomorrow evening for some WWE 2K18. And we have some more stuff coming up this weekend. A lot of stuff, a lot of content. Keep it rolling. Peace.